Hello everyone, welcome to Cisco Support Community Expert Series webcast. My name is Vinod Arya and I will be continuing the webcast series which we left yesterday, and we will be covering the left topic that will include configuration management, fault monitoring and the administrative task of CiscoWorks. So let's start from here. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me on the Ask for Expert question and answer series. Thank you. So let's talk about configuring and troubleshooting Cisco Prime LMS. We have already covered installation, inventory management, and some demo slides, demo of the live server on yesterday's webcast. Configuration management in Cisco Prime LAN management solution allows you to manage, deploy, and modify the configuration files used by devices in your network. You can run tools that can compare configuration files and perform software image management tasks. Configuration dashboard in LMS provides information such as date of last configuration change, status of the configuration jobs, summary of inventory configuration protocol and hardware, and software summary. So you can create configuration jobs and also manage configuration archive settings. You can define baseline configuration templates and determine the devices that are non-compliant to your network. Also inside configuration management, we will be covering VLAN configuration and VSS configuration conversions. So these slides would be including the configuration management information. So configuration management archives the configuration running on configuration of your devices, of switches, routers, security appliances, voice, and wireless devices. Configuration management allows to capture all the essential software configuration that would be inclusive of startup configuration and running configuration, so that in the case of recovery, we will be able to use those configuration as a zero deployment for the new devices on the network. Configuration archive options are present under configuration and configuration archive. We can see in this slide we have options for configurations like summary, viewing the views, synchronization, compare config, label config, and protocol usage. We can create configuration archive job to sync device configuration in LMS. That would include this process makes CiscoWorks to go to a device, log into it as a normal user using Telnet or SSH credentials, and then it will be collecting using CiscoWorks as a TFTP server, and then making a database entry so that we can use those information for future. So this slide shows how we can actually do that. We have to select the device. We can just enter the job description. The run type gives us an option of immediate, or if we want to schedule this in future. I will be showing this in live demo. Configuration, under the configuration tab, synchronization. And because this is a demo server, I only have one device. I'll select all devices. The runtime would give you option to configure to run it once in a future time. It can run every 6 hours, every 12 hours, daily, weekly, and monthly. These options would help you to fetch startup configuration directly from the device. But if the startup config is already saved, you can uncheck this box. Poll device before configuration collection. What it does is CiscoWorks will be asking the device the timestamp when the last configuration change was happened. With the last change, it will match the timestamp available in CiscoWorks, where it will be able to know if the timestamp matches, there is no change, and it will end the job saying that it is successful with no change detected. If the change is detected, it will just archive the change which have been done from the last time of the archived config, and it will be successful with changes detected. So as soon as we click submit, it is as simple as that. The jobs, we can go to configuration and we can see all the jobs here for configuration archive, where we will be able to see the results. Now we will be talking about compliance and audit manager. Organizations are increasingly leveraging their network to support their business needs and critical business processes. For this reason, they should add adequate security measures to prevent the disruption of the services. And in addition, there are so many auditing and compliance regulations which are becoming more stringent by organizations themselves and the industry they have to adhere to, as well as the regulations authorities. IT teams and IT personnel usually today face more problem in implementing consistent policies across the network. Also, there is a real challenge enforcing control over configuration changes and ensuring adherence to the conflict policies. So what Compliance and Audit Manager can do and is capable of is it is an integrated solution. Just to give you a brief background, Compliance and Audit Manager has been integrated recently with LMS 4.2, and it is an individual module which requires a separate license. It is available for 60 days in the evaluation period, but after 60 days we have to either purchase the license or this piece of software will become unusable. It is an integrated solution to manage, secure, administer, and monitor heterogeneous networks. It helps to check compliance management, enables regulatory check, helps to fix violation to make device compliance with policies. It supports IT industry, IT technology, and specific compliance. It also helps us generate reporting, which will show what kind of configuration changes and compliance changes has been done on the devices on the network, and that is known as audit reporting. And it can also enable to generate reports for various audits that were performed on the network devices. Compliance and Audit Manager helps in regulatory compliance checks against standards like HIPAA, that is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act compliance, Cisco Security Advisory, SOX, ISO 27002, NSA, Payment Card Industry, Center for Internet Security, and Defense Information System Agency, and many other compliance regulatory authorities. Currently, CiscoWorks only support around 293 policies out of the box, but it is also but we can manage the compliance by creating our own regulatory policies. So in the next slides, I will be showing you how to create these policies. Compliance management functions are to run compliance check on the network devices. Either create a policy group or selected system-defined policy. For user-defined policy group, we can add the required policies and required rules. So now I will be sharing the technical terms. What is a policy group? What is rules? And what is policy profile in the next slide. So compliance analysis. The right side of the slide shows the screenshot from the CiscoWorks itself. I will show you in the real environment. We can go to configuration and we can click Compliance and Audit Manager, or we can click on Compliance Policies and Groups. So these are the system-defined policies. The mouse over will be able to give us more information about what which kinds of regulatory compliance it can adhere our devices to, and the further details, how many policy counts are there for each individual group. So compliance analysis helps us out of the box to support regulatory standards. It helps lifecycle management report. It helps in services report, and it helps to give us an improved PCERT analysis so that we can know what kind of features are enabled on the devices in addition to the hardware model and software version checks. So the network administrators can pick and choose the compliance policies and rules what they want to enforce. So we can create customized policy groups or select from one of the system-defined group policies. We can create policy profile to associate the device against which we want to enforce the policies. We can schedule the compliance check on the profile to validate the compliance check, and the network administrators and operators can then verify the result of the job to identify non-compliance and take corrective actions to prevent any non-adherence to such compliance regulations. Policy groups and profiles. So these are the jargons which are associated with compliance and audit manager. Policy is a set of rules and conditions which we want a device to be matching prerequisites to. Policy group is a set of policies. So, for example, I want to make a policy of my interfaces having one specific type of configuration. That is one rule. I will set the command as a rule. Collection of different commands would make one entire policy, and different policies are matched with different devices, and collection of different policies where different devices are associated to different types of policies. It will become a policy profile. Policy profile is a set of policy groups where each policy group mapped with set of devices. Currently, as stated, CiscoWorks support around 290 policies, plus we can define our own in the user-defined policies. Managing policy group. In this page where we can see, we can click on these policy groups. We will be able to see the basic information of the group, policy name, policy group description, and we can see the policy rules available. So this is the policy rule, device running outdated. We want to verify the software is not announced at end of license. It will be going to cisco.com to check these information. We can modify these details, but we cannot change anything on the default profiles. But as soon as we do save as, it will save as into the policy group. So I made a change in the SNMP configuration, and we can see that we have a different set of rules which are under SNMP now. Managing policy groups. Managing policy groups has add policy group, edit policy group, delete policy group, and clone policy group. This is very simple. We can just use the function of the setting option on the top, from where we can add a policy group. We can click on the policies to be added to the group, and we can select the different kind of policies from the option, and then we can select multiple together. Once we save the policy, it will come under my policy group, and we will be able to click on the policy group and we will be able to edit. The mouse over will give us different kind of policies and we will be able to clone or group from the mouse over itself. So from here I can either clone this policy or I can delete this entire policy group. Managing profiles. Policy profile is a set of policy group where each policy group is mapped with set of devices to check compliance. We can add policy profile, we can edit, delete, clone, and check compliance, and also we can view the history of the profile jobs. So from the configuration compliance and audit manager, we can go to compliance profile and execution. A policy profile is a set of policy group and the devices mapped to each group. The devices mapped to the policy group, that is, for example, the policy like Health Insurance Prevention Act. We can select the devices. By clicking on the settings, we can add the new policy profile. We can mouse over on the profile to view for more actions. Currently, I don't have any data here because I have not set anything, but we can add the policy profile like so. This is the way we can create a new profile policy. Once we refresh the page, we'll be able to see the profile policy selector here. We can clone the policy, we can delete the policy, we can check for compliance, and we can once we click on check the compliance, it will be running the job directly from here, for which can be run immediately once daily for daily, and which can be scheduled for weekly, monthly for to run it every month. And also we can check the history of this compliance report, which has for the audit purposes. Now we'll be talking about profile execution job. The profile execution job or the compliance check job, we just have to go to configuration, compliance, and compliance profiles and execution. Under compliance profile and execution, we can select the profile and using the mouse over on the icon to the policy profile, we can click on check compliance. As soon as we click on check compliance, we will see the same window which I have shown you in demo. From the execution job, we will be able to see the status of the jobs, from where we can check if it is successful, and we can see the compliance status of the devices. To view the job, we have to go to configuration. we have to go under Configuration, Compliance and Audit Manager, and we can see the Compliance and Profile Execution jobs. Though after configuring the job, it will directly take you to that place. Compliance Profile Execution Report. In the Compliance Profile Execution Report, we can select the specific device, and we will be able to see the policy. We can select a particular policy, and we can select a violation to be fixed. So those device which has already been run for different kind of compliance policies, on the right side under policies, it will show the result of total violations under policy. It will show the fix of the policy, and there are two options which will come: violation with fix and violation without fix in these two tabs. A violation with fix will help directly select the device, click the checkbox, and use fix violation option. Those violations which don't have a check, which doesn't have a fix available by CiscoWorks itself, you have to fix those violations manually. So, for example, a device which should not be CDP compliant, which should not be running CDP, if that is running CDP, it will show the fix violation as no CDP run to be configured on it. So once we click on fix violation, it will be able to create a job by which it will be able to configure the device for the same. The device management in CiscoWorks is always synchronized to Compliance Engine. As status, Compliance Manager, Compliance and Audit Manager for the Prime Infrastructure portfolio is recently integrated with CiscoWorks. The CAM server process is responsible for taking information about the devices. On a add or modify event, all the information from CiscoWorks are also shared with CAM server. And an inventory collection is a must for all the devices to be able to be managed by Compliance and Audit Manager. After configuration of any kind of inventory change and any kind of configuration change will also be shared by the Compliance and Audit Manager. After the first successful inventory collection, show commands output will also be collected and they will be shared by Compliance Engine. CiscoWorks has been configured in a way that it will provide the most basic and raw essential data to Compliance and Audit Manager engine. Baseline compliance. So what is baselining? We will be discussing here, and how it is different from Compliance and Audit Manager. As Compliance and Audit Manager are specific to particular organizations and to particular industry, and they have certain specific set of guidelines, and hence they are totally different from baselining. Baselining refers to identifying a set of standardized policy-based commands that we want to have on the set of devices. So for example, in my network, I don't want SNMP Server Manager to be, say I don't want HTTP to be configured, I want only HTTPS to be configured. So a device, if a device is accessible using hypertext transfer protocol, we should not be able to use it in a normal we should not be able to access that device in a unsecured way, but we should have a secured connection using HTTPS. So making a baseline compliance would go to all the devices and check if the device is configured for IP HTTP server. If a device is configured for IP HTTP server, it will show it as non-compliant, and we can fix those baseline compliance by fixing it using IP HTTP secure server. So it is just an example. It can check the presence or absence of specific command or network devices to consider them compliant or non-compliant. So we can use baseline template to compare with other device configuration and generate a report that lists all the devices that are non-compliant with the baseline template. We can easily deploy the baseline template to the same category of devices on the network. We can also schedule a compliance check job and deploy the baseline template for a non-compliant devices. This can be performed on a single job as a separate job. So a baseline template, once it has been configured or created by a user on CiscoWorks, can be exported to be utilized on the other CiscoWorks servers, and it can be exported as a XML data. The current flowchart actually shows what is the baseline template usage flow from start to the end. So we have to go to the baseline template manager, create a custom template, create using basic method. There are two methods by which we can create, which will differ in the amount of features they have which are available. So and we run a compliance check. We have to choose the device type, date, and schedule a job. Once the job will be running, it will just check the presence of one particular kind of one or different kind of commands which should be configured or which should not be configured on the devices. And then we can check the job and the result for those devices which are compliant or non-compliant. So the basic features of baseline templates are we can use the baseline template to compare the configurations, and we can check particular commands if they should be present on the devices or not, so that we can remove them as per the network's baselining of specific commands. The rules for specifying baselining templates can be all the command should have a plus or minus sign. I will show you this in a live demo. So these are some of the templates which are available. For example, this template example 1 is a basic template example with regular expression. Regular expressions can also be used along with the submode and parent and child options. So for example, this template where Catalyst integrated security feature can be checked, we can see IP DHCP snooping. So the plus sign indicates that the device should be configured for IP DHCP snooping. However, if a command is mentioned with a negative symbol, that means a device should not be configured for a particular command. If we run this job, after creating a template of desired commands which should be configured on a device or not, we can go to compliance check. We can select a particular template and we can click on compliance check so that a job can be created on the selective devices. So when we opt for the job information to be to be sent as a PDF or an attachment, we mandatorily have to enter an email address. I remove the checkbox to be for the data to be sent with the email, so I can create it. We can directly go to jobs and we can see the status here. So now it can easily show that the number of non-compliant device is 1, which means the current device which I am managing, it is not configured with IP DHCP snooping, and we can check this device configuration to verify if this command is present on the device or not. So this device is not configured for IP DHCP snooping, and hence this device is not compliant to my manager. Now we'll be moving on to the next configuration tools, which are NetConfig, config editor, and software image management. NetConfig is one of the tools by which we can use it to configure the devices for any kind of configuration. So as I said initially, anything which is related to configuring on the devices, or any kind of configuration removal or configuration would be present under the configuration task. So all LMS managed devices would have their configuration management under the configuration task. We can check the NetConfig here. NetConfig is a utility which can configure any kind of commands. There are some available templates which can be configured, and those templates which are missing, we can have an ad hoc job. We can also make some user-defined task from where we can make a group of commands with a particular task name. The advantages of using NetConfig is, instead of CLI configuration command, we can use CiscoWorks, and we can schedule jobs for future. We can use job to run on multiple commands on devices and on multiple devices. We can use NetConfig is advantageous for using tasks to carry out easy and reliable configuration changes, mandating approval before running a job, and rolling back configuration changes. How mandating approval before running a job comes into picture is, LMS, as we discussed, has role-based authorization. If a user is not able to execute a job without the permission of an approver, he can and he determines something needs to be configured on a device or needs to be removed, they can simply configure a job and wait for the approval of the approver, those users who have approver's level authorization. For deploying via NetConfig, we have 3 options. We can deploy via device-based, module-based, port-based, and we'll have the templates accordingly, and we'll have to select the commands accordingly. We can select the device. We can select the present template. We can go. For example, right now I am configuring a ad hoc command. Ad hoc will give me an option to enter the command of my choice. I want to configure no SNMP server in case of the if the job fails or the command is not successfully accepted by the device. We can have a set of rollback commands which will be reconfigured on the devices. This is very essential when we are configuring a set of commands and last command fails. The CiscoWorks would be able to roll back by configuring what was previously there, so that there is minimum impact on the device. Sometimes it happens on configuring a user where username and password are removed for the previous user, but if the new configuration fails, the access to the device is completely lost. We have some other options available, like we can schedule to run the job immediately, or we can set it for some time in future to be run periodically or only once. We can have the device information and some of the job options which can determine the nature of the job, like if the mismatch of the fail on mismatch of the config version. So if the configuration version which is archived by CiscoWorks is different from the version of which is on the device, the job will fail. Sync archive before job execution. This job will take a backup of the current configuration from the device. Copy running to startup would after making the changes to the device configuration will do a write memory. And enable job password if you want to use different credentials which are already provided, this is important for the for user level authentication on the devices. For example, CiscoWorks is using a set of credentials which are not which may not have the permission to configure these commands. The user can put their own username and login password and enable password for this job specifically. There are certain failure policies which will be defining what action to take if the job fails, and the execution. If multiple devices have been selected, what should be the execution procedure? Should a job should this job try to configure multiple devices together, or it should be sequential in device 1, device 2? So once this is submitted, we can the job can run, and we can see the CLI information after the job is successful or failed, where exactly it failed. All kind of NetConfig jobs can be viewed from the NetConfig job browser. Now we'll be discussing about Config Editor. Config Editor is that portion of CiscoWorks. It is a tool which allow easy access to configuration files. So those configurations which has been saved and archived by CiscoWorks, using Config Editor, we can view them and we can make necessary changes to them, and we can try to redeploy those configuration to the same device or to a different set of device or devices. The configuration management application stores the current and the user specified number of previous versions of the configuration files for all supported Cisco devices maintained in the inventory, and it will automatically track changes to configuration files and update the database if the change is made. So when we deploy any kind of change to the device using Config Editor, it will also update CiscoWorks for its database of the latest configuration. We can open the configuration file, change it, and download it to the device. I will be showing it on the live demo. From configuration to tools, we can go to Config Editor, device and version. So this way we will be able to see all the configuration, and if we want to edit anything, we can go to a particular configuration type and we can make changes here directly. As soon as we will be able to make So once we have made the changes to the configuration, we can save this new configuration as public or private. In private, only the user who has logged in with his user ID would be able to see these changes, and if we make it a public profile, we'll be able to remove the every user will be able to see these public configs under the public config options. here. Software image management. It is very essential on our network to have a copy of the software they are running. So, for example, if my 6500 or a 3750 switch or a 2800 router is running a latest image, and I in my remote site may not have an access to cisco.com or essential downloading contract, I can keep a copy of the softwares which are in the flash or boot flash or any file system of the device to be copied directly to the repository of CiscoWorks. We can go under configuration, software management, and we can go to software repository, from where we can see any kind of images added to the devices. If it does not have any image, we can add an image from cisco.com from the device directly from the file system. That means a software image which is kept inside the server file system from a particular URL which from where we can download it, and somewhere from the network as well. So the benefit of keeping this is we can use those devices which are in the those software images which are in the software repository can only be used to deploy on the other devices. So this is the software image management functional architecture. This considered as a SIM is known as software image management, which is a shortcut for abbreviation we use for the software management function of CiscoWorks. The software repository can communicate to any devices, and it can inside its own file system. It can have the software images from the file system, from cisco.com, from the devices, or from other various sources like a URL. This repository can be used to deploy these devices directly on a particular device or a group of devices. If the connection is over the WAN, where the speed is usually very slow and it is not very reliable to transfer the entire image of multiple megabytes to multiple devices. So we have an option of remote staging where we can keep an image on a particular iOS on the flash or the file system of one particular device, and rest of the other devices can be updated by using that remote staging device as the major source of the image. We can manually upgrade our devices to the latest software version, and this can be very error prone and time consuming. So SWIM can can upgrade many devices. We can schedule the job for future, and it is very rapid, very reliable, and it also automates various steps as per the options available during the job. Also, software image management gives us a couple of other features like upgrade planning by doing an analysis. So we can have a upgrade analysis by which CiscoWorks will be checking if the image is suitable for the devices, if the feature sets are matching or they are different, if the platform requirements are met, if the prerequisites are met in terms of the minimum DRAM, minimum space required on the flash. So the essential software image management key features are it is very reliable for single or multiple images in the single deployment operation. We can deploy it to multiple devices, and we can create multiple jobs for multiple devices as well. Repository of current images allows rapid recovery from failure. Images can be deployed from repository from another device flash. We can set up our own software management preferences. We can analyze software upgrades. We can perform the ISU upgrade for those devices which support in-service software upgrade, which is a kind of upgrade where we don't need to reboot the box. Import images into the software repository, distribute software images to group of devices, distribute images as patches to group of devices. We can reduce errors by using the recommended version. We can track software bugs using Cisco, cisco.com, and locate device report. So there is a huge potential available by which we can manage the software images on the devices. The options and usage are patch distribution. We can distribute patches simultaneously to applicable devices. Patch distribution does not require reboot of the entire OS of the device. For example, some blades like NAM, which is Network Analysis Module, or some smaller modules which requires patch upgrade regularly can be done using CiscoWorks. Software distribution, we can distribute the entire software of routers, switches, and other networking devices. Repository synchronization. The synchronization report shows the software management supported devices that are running software images not available in the software image repository. So, for example, we have 100 devices in our network, and all those networking equipment have 25 different types of softwares, because there are chances that multiple routers and switches are running a same image. So if out of 25 in the repository we have 20 images already saved for future, the synchronization report will show that 5 images are still not into the repository. Upgrade analysis, as we spoke, is an option to determine the impact to prerequisite for a non-software deployment using images that reside in either cisco.com or image repository. This is a task to analyze the device to be upgraded to determine possible required hardware upgrades like boot ROM, flash memory, RAM, and access. And in jobs, we can see any kind of jobs which are running. Workflow tools. Now, configuration management also have some workflow tools. Workflow tools include VLAN configuration, VRF Lite, and virtual switching system. These workflow tools are very easy to be managed because CiscoWorks, for example, if we talk about VLAN, for a managed device, CiscoWorks will collect all kind of information for that device, and it will be able to know how many VLANs are there, what ports and interfaces are member of which VLAN group. So when we try to configure a VLAN, or we try to change the port assignment of one interface from one VLAN to another one, CiscoWorks will have that information directly, and we can also manage the VTP and VTP on the devices which are configured. So for example, configuring a VLAN, we can create the VLAN directly from here. We can give the VLAN index name. We can give the VLAN name. We have an option to I am sorry. We have an option to copy running config to startup config as well. After this, it will have a list of all the interfaces inside the device, and we can manually mark which ports or interfaces can be a portion can be a member of new with this new VLAN. So LMS collects data about devices so that we can configure and manage virtual local area network in the network. We must set up LMS server properly to ensure that the data collection is successfully performed. For data collection, we will be discussing it in future slides. Using LMS, we can perform end-to-end. Configuration module in LMS helps to manage VLAN, from where we can configure and manage VLANs, private VLANs, trunk, and also assign ports to the VLAN. It is as simple as that, doing it in the CLI, but we will be able to see every option in the GUI, from where we can simply within a few clicks have the VLAN information changed, have the port assignments changed, have new VLANs configured on the device, have new private VLANs configured on the device, and we can also delete VLAN and delete PVLAN. We can also create trunk ports on a particular devices. Managing VRF using Cisco Prime LMS. Using LMS, we can perform end-to-end VRF configuration in an enterprise network, which means we can configure any VRF on the device. We can edit a VRF, we can extend a VRF, we can delete, and we can create edge VLAN configuration using the VRF Lite feature. In an enterprise network, at a given time, we can select up to 20 devices to configure VRF to create, edit, and extend VRF workflow. VRF configuration comprises of workflow used to create, edit, extend, delete, assign edge VLAN to VRF. What happens is the set of commands which are used by administrators to configure a device via CLI. It is very simple to have the representation in GUI. We can have selective options in the checkbox, and as soon as in the checkbox we can select, at the background level it will convert our options to the CLI commands, and it will configure the device for the same. Prerequisites to the configure VRF. The device must be managed in LMS. That is a prerequisite. Device must be either a L2, L3 or an L3 device. L2 devices are not supported. The device must have a necessary hardware support. It will be classified as other devices. So we can also see what all devices are capable of configuring VRF. If a device does not support MPLS VPN MIB, it is classified as capable device. Capable devices are those devices which are hardware ready but not software ready to be configured for VRF. VTP server must support MPLS VPN MIB. If the VTP server does not support MPLS VPN MIB, LMS will not be able to manage VTP clients. Because using MPLS VPN MIB, LMS will be able to get the information about the VTP clients. So here is the definition of VRF capable devices. The count of VRF capable device shows the devices that are hardware ready but need software upgrades, and supported devices that are both hardware and software ready. So these devices, the supported devices can be used for discovering, creating, editing, extending, and deleting VRF on the network. The flow is still similar for various different flows we have seen. We just have to select the devices. We have to select the VRF, a couple of details which are essential to frame the CLI command at the background. CiscoWorks is also capable of converting virtual switching system for the supported devices. It requires minimum of 2 devices which needs to be converted to virtual switching system. Virtual switching technology is a process of combining two standalone distribution switches found in the local distribution layer of single management point. By using VSS functions which appears as a single switch to the wiring closet and core layer, LMS has a capability to convert VSS by the tools. We will be able to select the options from the entire devices. CiscoWorks will also be able to identify the devices which are capable of being converted to VSS. And this GUI-based conversion tool allow us to select two compatible standalone switches, which can be configured to become virtually a single device using the virtual switching system tool. During the conversion process, the VSS configuration tool generates the required CLI command, as stated earlier. Prerequisite for conversion. Candidate devices that are to be converted to a virtual switching system are managed by LMS so that they can use this conversion tool. Fresh inventory and config collection has to be carried out, because if CiscoWorks does not have the current configuration and information about the device, it may end up messing up the entire device. Only VSS capable device IO software modularity images are should be running on the standalone switches, which can be further converted into VSS devices. To convert standalone switches to virtual VSS device, we need to select a device, perform hardware check on the device, perform software compatibility, generate compliance report, define configuration parameters, and we can deploy the job, which will be able to convert both of them into a VSS compliant devices. So these are the major details we wanted to capture inside the configuration. We will be moving to monitoring section, but before that, I just wanted to discuss about user tracking, which we said will be user tracking and data collection.